pretty big accomplishment for them kids. And
Absolutely.
I hate to see them, if one or two couldn't go because they couldn't raise the funds, or don't have the funds.
The event starts on the afternoon, Monday, June 27th.
I mean, we're probably gonna have another meeting a week here, let alone June.
But I would assume they're gonna have to get all their stuff booked if they're gonna be going.
She has stuff booked,
Oh, she does?
yeah.
Do I hear a motion to table it?
Yes.
Motion to table the,
I'd like to know more information.
and a second by Marty to
Yeah.
table this request, and ask for a little more information, Dr. Block, for next Monday, if we have a meeting next Monday. Is that when you would like to see it, Larry?
Yeah, I'd like to know how this, what the amount is and then how it applies to everything else. I'm not versed in that. I'm not sure how everything else would be impacted. You know, we're talking about it, but I'd like to know a little more specifics on that.
Okay.
Okay, I've got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next up, discussion items. Dr. Block, Superintendent report.
The first thing I wanted to mention, and it was posted on our Facebook and Twitter accounts, Jenna Sinner was announced or chosen as the outstanding state biology teacher. So it's a statewide recognition out of all of the applicants that we had across the state. So it's, I think it's an excellent thing for us to say that we've got a teacher of that caliber within our ranks. She does a really nice job. She's passionate about her subject, and she's the type of teacher that really works well with all students. And the human body systems program has really, I think, increased her passion for biology as well. She's also even considering, perhaps, maybe, she hasn't decided for sure, but perhaps looking at the praxis test for chemistry for us. So, I don't want to put pressure on her, but she's had some conversation about that. So she's kind of expanding her horizons a little bit as she continues to teach. She's been with us since 2010. So congratulations to her. And we were able to do an announcement at our secondary staff meeting with an announcement on the community board that morning. So it was kind of a surprise. She did not know about it.
Oh, wow.
So it was a neat surprise. She will attend the state science convention, which I don't believe she goes to annually, but she'll be acknowledged there, and then she'll also be acknowledged at the national convention. I'm not sure when that is, but she did receive a monetary stipend which she can use in the classroom or be used for her travels to the national convention, those types of things. I don't believe it's enough to pay for the whole thing, so maybe some conversation about us as a school district, and maybe looking at that for her as well. So congratulations to her.
Yeah.
Yes.
The next thing that I had on here is the COVID-19 plan. It hasn't gone away completely. COVID-19, it's still here. We have to, as a school district, still continue to focus on what we will plan on doing for our COVID plan as we go into a new school year. We will be asking folks to provide input. We have, I believe there's an opportunity on, I'll have to double check with our website, but I believe there's an opportunity on our website in the COVID folder information that you can go in and provide comments if you wish to. We utilize these meetings as an opportunity for people to share information regarding COVID if they agree with what we're doing or don't agree with what we're doing, or if there's some focus they would like us to put on COVID. But I'll use that information to help guide us for what we would do for a plan. I don't see a lot of significant changes in what we're currently doing with the COVID-19 process right now. We're not doing contact tracing. We haven't been doing that since April 1. And the state came forward and said that was fine. That's to review. Really haven't had any, we still have cases occasionally, but we haven't had a significant number. So typically the students stay home for a week. We notify the close contacts, at least personally, so that they're aware that they've been in close contact and monitor their symptoms. I don't know if you have any questions or comments regarding that, but it's still something we need to address as we move forward until either COVID is gone or it's become a part of our normal lives, which I think the latter is probably already happening. So,
I don't hear anything about it anymore. You know, as far as our policy.
Yeah.
So,
That way,
So, calendar items, our seniors' last day is tomorrow. We have on Wednesday, they don't have to come to school, but we do expect that they come to our practice in the afternoon for baccalaureate and graduation practice during 4 o'clock on Wednesday. And then Wednesday evening, we have the award ceremony starting at 6 with baccalaureate to follow within 15 minutes thereafter. And we have graduations coming Sunday. Our last day of school right now, pending no more snow days, which I think we're past that, is Thursday, May 19th, and we are planning a noon dismissal. And that Friday and Monday are work days for our staff, as what I had requested last month. We do plan to have a staff picnic like we do annually on Friday, not the last day of school, but on Friday, since we'll have folks in to work during that time. I think that's all I have. I don't believe there's anything else that I need to discuss.
okay. NESC?
I had work commitment, so I was not able to.
Okay.
The NESC, I did attend, and I sent Mr. Case and some others some notes. There wasn't really a lot going on. They are still dealing with some staffing issues in the school psychologist area. So our particular school psychologist is retiring and will no longer be with us. She's Maria Meyer, has been with us for, gosh, probably at least a decade.
Yeah, I'm not sure how many years,
It's been a long
but it's
time.
been
So,
quite a few.
She's another person who'll be moving on that we will miss. She's done a nice job in sort of our own staff member in a sense, because she's here a couple of days per week. I don't know who the replacement is, but as I understand, we have a gal from the Florence or Watertown area that's, I think she serviced us years before. So.
Yeah, I can't remember her name.
So it basically just in finalizing the negotiations with her, they have 2 units that they negotiate with, and
Yeah.
looking at filling all their positions. It was the primary focus on their meeting.
Okay. Buildings and grounds.
Lori has put together a capital outlay budget, which I believe we'll look at here shortly. We're starting we have a list of some projects. It's not as extensive as it has been in previous summers. I am a little bit cautious in that sense that I think there will be more projects that come up as we are moving forward with the larger project. Just for example, having Ethan come here tonight and ask about repurposing the landscaping blocks to do other projects. There will be other things that we'll have to address that perhaps we don't have on our list immediately right now. With the project itself, I have contacted Millbank Home Movers to move the garage. I've informed them that our last day of school is the 19th. And originally, when I spoke with him probably a month ago, we were really thinking about having plenty of time to move that garage. But in our last couple of meetings with the architect and some folks with the civil engineering, I've learned that when they bring fill in for the CTE portion, they plan to bring in fill. So I was always assuming that the parking lot would probably be one of the final projects, and that doesn't appear to be the case. But that being said, we're going to need to move the garage sooner than later, and that's what I informed the Millbank homeowners actually this morning. So it sounds like we need to do this sooner than later. He believes that they can get this in on a Friday or Saturday project type thing. If it's raining somewhere else and not here, they'll probably squeeze it in. But he said, have your stuff ready to go by the end of the week, your last week of school. He says we'll get it as soon as we can. We've contacted a construction company to put down concrete. They have the forms and the rebar in place. They'll probably be pouring concrete yet this week. And so the pad for the garage will be ready to go within a week. Also contracted somebody to move the outdoor classroom, so that will be moved within the next 2 weeks as well. Some playground equipment that has to move in order to have enough space, so it's still safe. That stuff will go in storage. I'm just trying to think of the things that we've been discussing recently.
And today North Star was in, they put in a new hot water heater in the elementary. So that's a commercial one. Not cheap.
I believe that's all I have for right now, for buildings and grounds.
Okay,
Unless you have questions.
I don't have any, do you guys? Okay, 2022-23 meals. Lori?
Yes, so as you know, for the last couple of years, we've had free meals from the federal government because of the COVID situation. Those waivers have not been extended, and so for the 22-23 school year, everything will revert back to normal pricing. And we'll have the free and reduced applications available, so everything will just be back to how it was previously. So I just want to get the word out there so nobody's taken by surprise when they start getting lunch bills and things like that, so.
Just so as it stands right now, next year we'll be back on the old meal plan, which we will review meal rates in the July meeting.
Yes.
Okay. Is there anything people need to be doing this fall in preparation? Or excuse me, this spring in preparation?
Yeah, one of the things, if they're interested, when you apply for free and reduced meals, like in a certain school year, your application carries over for the next 30 days of school. So if you were free in this school year, you would be free for the next 30 days until you complete a new application. So as of right now, the first day of school, everybody will be paid. So if someone is interested, I'm going to ask Mr. Block if we can do an all-call, and we'll have an application available. They can fill out an application right now that would take effect for the first 30 days, but then they will have to complete a new application next school year also.
Okay. I think that's good to get out there, Lori, just so people have that information detailed. Okay, anything else on that? All right, we'll jump into the 22-23 preliminary budget. Larry's favorite thing.
No comment.
Lori, you want to lead us through?
Sure. Okay, so we'll start with the general fund. As you know, the majority of our revenue and I'm not gonna go into a lot of detail because, you know, it's still preliminary. I'm just gonna give you the highlights. So if you have questions, please ask. And really, I think the budget is pretty close to what it's gonna be in July. We'll have a few tweaks here and there, but there shouldn't be anything major. The majority of our revenue for general fund is property taxes and state aid, and that is based on enrollment. And so on the first page for our revenue, you'll see what our revenue total is on the bottom. And then for general fund, the big things that have changed would be wage increases. Our health insurance, we did have reduced rates this year, so that helps us. Natural gas, electricity, transportation is a big one. That will be increasing because of the fuel, you know, because we are in a contract, but the fuel. I do not have the increased, or the new rates for the property and liability, but I increased them just a certain percentage, so if that's not accurate, we can bring that back down, but I just wanted to get some sort of increase in there. And so basically for general fund, those are the large expenditures.
So, I need you to help walk me through this, Lori. When I look at this, at our total general fund, we're increasing 166,000.
Yes,
And that would include the 140,000 that we got in state, our raise this year, 6%.
right.
So we're actually a little bit in the red there, right off the get-go, to the tune of 25,000 bucks.
And the thing is, it's our enrollment. As of right now,
Yeah.
what my estimates for the fall enrollment are, we are decreasing. Hopefully that will change. We see a lot of movement over the summer, so. And then if you look at that, on the first page, so, we would be using capital outlay funds to help fund the general fund budget, which is what we have been doing for the past few years, so. It doesn't mean we always have to transfer that much, because, expenditures.
Things vary a little bit, enrollment
Absolutely.
varies a little bit.
Yep,
Yep.
yep.
Why did it go down a little bit on what you've got there on the transfer from capital outlay? By percentage, it should have been the same, right? 465 versus 460.
Well, no, because it shouldn't, it doesn't have to be the same, it depends on what our, what our revenues and expenditures are,
Yeah, I know.
okay,
And I see that the ad valorem taxes did creep up just a little bit there, which is out of our control. So
correct.
that must be an increase in property value that is generating a little more tax revenue there.
Yes, and, that number is not always accurate, but that number is on the formula, we have the spreadsheet now with the formula, and the state inserts that number. And so
And that's what I wanted to be clear on, Lori. We don't have any
Right.
control over that number. That is set by the state.
right, and also, because their tax year runs from January through December, our year runs from July through
Yeah.
June, so.
That's 2 tax years that we
Right.
deal with.
I forgot about that part of it. That really
Yeah.
complicates things,
So you
doesn't it?
look
Yeah.
at what taxes are one, then you gotta take half.
Yeah. Okay.
And then like I said, we'll go through this in more detail, but if you guys have any questions, you can stop in any time and we can go over it. And so then we'll move on to capital outlay.
Can I just ask, Lori, what page is that? Never mind, I found it.
Okay, so for capital outlay, on the revenue side, it's basically just property taxes. We do have the $100,000 from the federal government, and that has to do with, the elementary building. The funding we had for that project, that was when we went through that QSCB, and we have the sinking fund, so it's a little more different, but we have to pay the interest and we get reimbursed that from the federal government, so I have to show it.
Sure.
The taxes, as you can see, are the same as last year. There's no increase in capital outlay. And then I just stuck the second sheet in there just for your information. We can, if needed, transfer 45% to general fund. So basically that would get, we could transfer up to $750,000 if needed, which we do not do.
Right.
And then looking at the capital outlay budget, I've gone through the requisitions, and as of right now, from what I am aware of, I have everything included. I do have to say, we're doing really well this year, like our custodians, they kept their request to a minimum, which is really nice. And even, it helps when we don't have like the large reading curriculum, the elementary's getting new science curriculum, but it's nothing compared to the reading. And so our expenditures, I mean, I think are pretty good. The things I do have listed, there are some items that, you know, have been requested, we don't have to, we wouldn't have to do them this year, but they're really not very expensive. I have the new debt payment in for the project if it moves forward.
How did you determine that amount?
I get the schedule from the financing company.
So do you have sort of the maximum budgeted, you know, as far as whatever money we, you know, if the bids were to come in less, this could potentially be less or not?
No, we've already received the $9.5 million.
Okay.
And so, you know, if it would come in less, that money is ours. And so we would have to determine, you know, if there's add-ons or how we would spend that. If you have money, because that has to be accounted for in a capital projects budget, which I have inserted in here.
Okay.
And if there's money left over, you know, usually you might have just, you know, a few thousand, not very many. That gets transferred into capital outlay. So if at that point, if for some reason we would get through this project and have money remaining, we would determine where that would go.
Okay.
And so as of right now, unless, you know, like I don't have anything budgeted in here for architect payments because I don't know how much of that we have left. We've paid the majority of that in this year's budget already, so that's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
What I have on paper right now, we can cover everything with the revenue we are raising without using any fund balance. So we still have fund balance to work with. You know, if we need to transfer it to general fund, if our project will come in over, we still have fund balance to work with. And then our technology budget, I did just give you a copy of that. Usually that's one of the hot topics we discuss every year, but this year actually the technology budget is not as much as it has been in years prior. One thing Tammy and I visited about, every year we get this grant, it's called a Reef Grant. And so we usually, and it has to be for, we can't use it for replacements, it has to be for something new. And so, you know, every year we're trying to come up with things. Well, we're going to use that to purchase every year the incoming freshmen get new Chromebooks. And so what I have in the budget doesn't include the Chromebooks for the incoming freshmen because we're gonna use the grant to pay for that. So that helps our capital outlay budget.
Sure.
So I just wanted to give you that technology budget, because that's usually one we're always trying to look at to see if we can cut, but this year it's actually really good, so.
I see some of the technology or whatever, elementary, middle school, high school, one's up, one's gone, are we kind of split up a little bit so we're not all doing it at once and we're kind of addressing this year and that, so they're scattered out a little?
Actually, that's a question you would have to ask Tammy.
Okay.
You know, like she has everything on rotation, but you know, like elementary, I don't think we had like devices for all students, but I think we're pretty much there now. Is that correct?
They're in the form of mobile labs, but I
Right.
don't know if every class has its own lab. I think
No,
they're
we
still
don't
shared.
have it for every class.
But I know she's adding some this year, and I'm not sure what classes they were, but
We're staggering it a little better, I think. It looks that way to me.
The times when we tend to see
Times you can't.
the increase is usually when there's exchange of servers or some of the rack
Mm-hmm.
material, the things that are in the actual rack, the network rack. And we did used to see a little bit more of an increase when we were restocking our labs.
right,
and we're not
which
doing
we're getting
that.
rid of.
I will say that I don't know where we're at for the total number of devices, but it just keeps increasing.
It seems to me though that this has gotten to be less of a hot topic the last 3, 4, 5 years because we've just had more open communication and helped her understand where we're coming from and she's helping us understand where she's coming from.
And maybe we find understood that it's pretty sizable percentage
Right.
of the budget every year. you have in there.
Yeah.
You know, probably one of the larger amounts.
Yeah, and it, on top of that, and Lori will attest to this, the subscriptions and the software and it just keeps growing and growing and growing and growing. And those are things that once we start them, we rarely ever eliminate anything, and so, it's just an increasing.
And there are requests for a lot of things, and we just try to make sure, I mean, they usually always get it, but we try to make sure if they're requesting it, it's really gonna be used.
Sure.
I do see textbooks too.
Just replacements though.
Yeah, well, I mean, in the past, there wasn't such a thing as technology. Now, textbooks are gonna be a thing in the past.
I'm gonna be honest, and I don't deal with, at the secondary level, our staff coordinates with each other, because we basically have two per subject, 2 English teachers, 2 math teachers, and they review what they hope to have for textbooks. And one of my frustrations as an administrator isn't with them, but more with the publishing companies. Not that we want to have textbooks that are really outdated, but you used to have a hard copy textbook, and if you used it for 6 years and there really wasn't a whole lot of change between that series and the new series, you could say, you know what, we're going to go another 2-3 years, and you could use it for 9 years. We don't get that option anymore with the online stuff. Even when there's a hard copy textbook, they eventually tell us, well, your subscription is expired. You need to now pay for another 3 years, or pay for whatever. And even more so, the subscriptions are expiring and they're saying, we don't support that anymore, you have to go to this one. And so it's a way for the publishers to continue to make money. And it's all good stuff. I mean, there's typically a lot of great improvements in your curriculum as you move forward, but it's, there's not a lasting curriculum anymore like there once was. Now, I'm speaking as an old fuddy-duddy math teacher where it says math hasn't changed in the last 200 years. But I think you get the gist of the curriculum challenge that we have. It's becoming more challenging to deal with purchasing them because they expire and they can hold you to getting new stuff because the old stuff won't work technology-wise if you don't upgrade.
So you no longer get, or cannot get a multiple year license fee, it's an annual.
Yeah, you can.
Oh, yeah, we get multiple years.
And they try to make us feel like we're getting a deal.
Well, yeah, like Dr. Black was saying with the reading program, the one that we had was one that our staff really liked. And that's the one that they discontinued, so we had to look at a new version or a new reading curriculum, and it just, our staff really didn't like that one. Now we're trying to get accustomed to the new one that we have. But that one was, I think, an 8-year contract.
Okay.
So we usually typically get to set a 5 to 9 year contract, usually somewhere in that range.
It's not an annual licensing fee then?
No, it's just, we will pay for those, for example, if we would get a new curriculum this year, we would pay for the current numbers that we have. So let's say if we increase our numbers, if our kindergartners and next year's kindergartners come in, we would have to pay for additional copies that following year. Copies meaning consumables. So we don't really get a textbook anymore, it's consumable workbooks that we get each year of that contract. So, yeah, a lot of them are kind of going away with that textbook, so they call them consumable workbooks or consumable information.
So the kids really don't have to be responsible for their books anymore either.
Well, they do. If they lose it, then they're, but yeah, they're tear out consumables and you hand them in. But the challenging thing that's difficult is, you know, like right now I'm going in and we have to renew all of these workbooks and consumables for next year. It's, you know, finding these websites, and it seems like the personnel changes, and just to make sure you get everything correct and order it for next year is kind of more challenging. Because before you used to get okay, we got textbooks, and then we're good for 7 years, and we're good to go.
Moving on.
Any questions for Captain Outlay? Otherwise, I'll move on. Okay. Next we have special ed, and really no changes there. Special ed is special ed. It's the special ed teachers, the paras, and then the purchase services that we purchase from the co-op. Those are our expenditures for the special ed.
How about the revenues?
For special ed,
Yeah.
that is property taxes only. We do not get any state aid.
I see it's down. Am I looking at that wrong? Special ed?
Yeah, I'm not sure about that number. I have to check that.
Okay.
Oh,
We get money in too for the,
no, this is what, we will be talking about this in July when we're talking about levies and stuff.
Okay.
Because this is the one where, and I visited with Tom to see if I should bring it to the full board about we have the large fund balance in special ed. And our out-of-district placement no longer exists. And so that is one way we might be able to reduce, and so this would be if we would reduce the levy. If we stay at the max, it would be back up to the 1 million. This is if we would reduce the levy. And so we'll talk about that in July. I have paperwork to give you just to compare like our fund balance to other school districts, what the different levy amounts would be.
Okay.
Okay, and then we move on, we got rid of the bond fund this year because we paid off our last payment. We still have the debt service for the elementary building. We have a new capital project, so that'll just be in place, you know, as we pay bills to get this project paid off, and then our debt payments will be through capital outlay, so this will just be a 1 or 2 year thing. Food service, which the food service revenue is always, it's kind of a guess every year, but even more so now this year because we've been getting the higher rates because all students have been free. So it'll kind of be a little guessing game to get back into that again. And then driver's ed is our last one.
Are numbers really up again for driver's ed?
yeah, big class, we're at 40. I think we're at 40 last year also.
I do have a few items that pertain to general fund and capital outlay if we're done discussing those.
Yep.
One, if you noticed in my notes, and I spoke with Lori about this, last year, I had asked for us to put in a line item in the budget for June projects, because we tend to do projects from July to the beginning of the school year, and sometimes at the end of the school year, we'd like to get some things done. And probably the best way to do it is what Lori had said, we can utilize fund balance. So some of that will probably happen right now, I think, with us moving some things. Is that gonna come out of our budget for the big project, or is that just out of our capital outlay?
No, like the moving the playground or the outdoor classroom and moving the garage, that's not part of the big project. However, in the 21-22 budget that we're in, we had a line item, and you probably don't remember this, but we had budgeted, we had left over for expenditures $400,000. We had budgeted that. And so that's what I'm using to pay the architect this year. And it'll go to cover any of your projects associated, you know. So we still have money in that line item for this year.
I guess I'm clarifying it for you and for myself, is in the summer of '23, when school is out next, in May of 2023, we want to get a few things done prior to July 1 with our new budget starting in July 1. Then I may be asking you to ask Lori to, I don't know how you do it, but it would be out of the capital outlay fund budget or
Fund balance.
Fund balance.
balance to do those things rather than earmarking a specific amount, because we have no idea what it could be. So I just wanted to clarify that, and she and I discussed that earlier today. With respect to the general fund, there are a couple of things that I wanted to bring up. One is, we have a group of teachers that have met several times regarding school spirit and school climate. And they have proposed to me actually having a paid position for student council at the middle school level and high school level, so that it's not me, nor is it Mr. Case that's serving in that capacity. I don't have any specific numbers as to what I would be looking at for that proposal, but they believe that it might be more valuable for the entire school and the students and the climate of the school to have someone that can focus a little bit more time on that. And if it's a paid position, there would potentially be a little bit more interest in somebody serving in that capacity. For me as a principal or superintendent to say, all right, Martin, I'm gonna give you the student council, and you gotta do this extra stuff, and in comparison to anybody else, there's no pay, there might be that question, well, why do I have to do it? And so, that's one thing we're gonna be looking at. I plan to contact other schools to see what they do for paid positions if it's not an administrator. And then the group of people that have met are having that conversation themselves to come up with their suggestions. And so I'm giving you that as a discussion item today, and then in the future, we may be bringing a proposal to you to move forward with that. The other thing that I wanted to mention is, and this just came out of discussion, we may need to review the STEM advisors' pay when you consider how much, and I'm not speaking on their behalf, I'm speaking basically just because I'm looking at that particular program. It has evolved into a pretty extensive year-round almost position. And when you compare it, when I was looking at positions for potentially looking, the student council stuff, I was looking at those, and I really question whether they're really getting paid in comparison to what others are getting paid for extracurriculars that maybe don't even have close to the number of hours of responsibility and the time of responsibility throughout the school. As Martin said earlier tonight, this fundraising is part of their requirements and part of their project. That's turned into not a year-round thing, but it's certainly an expectation to work on things throughout the entire school year. And when all of this started, it basically was a 8-week robotics program. And it's not quite that short anymore. So I'm just giving you a heads up that those are some things that we're discussing and things that I'm looking at.
Just
Again, it's adding,
Right.
adding, but,
will you just refresh my memory? STEM is, what does that stand for?
the STEM is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics.
Okay.
And we called it STEM for robotics because robotics fits right into it.
Yep.
There are some school districts that use STEAM as an acronym where arts are included. And I'll be honest, I used STEAM in the application for the workforce grant. And it was something that I was told that, well, we're not really familiar with STEAM because it's still STEM at the state level. I was using STEAM because we were trying to be a little bit more all-inclusive, in which our art teacher is now teaching the STEAM portion of the exploratory class instead of STEM. So, and it's a combination of both. It's both doing some art and some engineering. To build bridges, things and things like that. So I just wanted to throw those out for some discussion and some thought prior to any proposals that we might be making in the future.
Okay. Lori, do you have anything else? Preliminary?
No, not on the budget.
Any questions for Lori or Dr. Black? Not yet. Okay. Next meeting?
We do have the bid opening Thursday at 2 o'clock, and then we are having a special board meeting Monday night at 7 for the board to review those bids and make a decision. And then our next regular board meeting will be June 13th.
Business office, Thursday.
We are actually going to do it in Mr. Tobin's classroom, so we
They
have
just
more
asked
space.
that, the advertisement includes, enter through the business office entrance, and as long as we have somebody that can direct folks or, we figured that might be the closest classroom.
There's just more space in there in case we have. I remember for the elementary project, we kind of had a few people show up and they were standing in the doorway, so
Sure.
The special meeting is when?
Thursday
Monday.
at 2.
a week from tonight.
Well, the bid opening is Thursday at 2.
I guess just full disclosure for the board, you know, I did go to the pre-bid meeting, and I told everybody there that I sit on the Buildings and Grounds Committee. I'm also a school board member, and that our firm will be quoting part of the civil work. And so therefore, I will abstain from any votes associated with the project. And I'll, you know, announce that too at that special board meeting, that I will not be able to vote on the project. Anything else? Lori?
Not for me.
Dr. Black? Mr. Case? Chase? All right, can we have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So
Thanks, Aaron. Second, Larry. We are adjourned.